Checkpoints is presented by pharmaceutical company GM Pharma. With the support of 14 British members of the parliament, a proposal to sanction dვალiშვილი has been submitted to the UK House of Commons. In response, the Georgian Dream Party stated that if such sanctions are imposed, the UK's reputation as a state based on the rule of law and fundamental human rights will become a thing of the past. Last week, Azerbaijan hosted a delegation from Georgia, once again, this time within the framework of the Intergovernmental Commission. Meetings were held at all levels and congratulations were extended on recent appointments. President Aliyev personally wished success to Irakli Kobakhidze. Following a 3-hour warning strike last week, a group of businesses gathered to discuss the current state and forecasts for the economy. The group is now deliberating on how to continue operating under the Free Business G platform, which has united nearly 2,500 businesses in Georgia. According to a December inflation expectation survey by the National Bank of Georgia, market participants' expectations of inflation have risen. Similarly, other private institutions and analytical centers suggest that business sentiment in the country has deteriorated significantly. In 2024, Georgia's foreign trade turnover in goods amounted to $23.4 billion, about 8% increase compared to the previous year. Exports reached $6.6 billion, reflecting also 8% growth, while imports totalated $16.9 billion, which is about 8% increase as well. In 2024, money transfers to Georgia totaled $3.4 billion, which is $785 million, or 19% less than in 2023. As of December 31st, 2024, Georgia's external debt decreased by $319 million, totaling $8.6 billion, according to the Ministry of Finance. However, this reduction was primarily due to the depreciation of the euro rather than debt repayment by Georgia. Another public servant has left the government. Revas Kakulia, head of the EU Integration Department at Georgia's Ministry of Regional Development and Infrastructure, resigned. Thank you, Georgia, for the honor of serving your European past for 12 years, Kakulia wrote on social media. A contusion and fractured nasal bone. These are the injuries diagnosed by doctors after Gheorghe Gaharia was attacked in the lobby of the Sheraton Batumi Hotel. Also, a criminal investigation has been launched. The hotel and the authorities have yet to release a full account of the incident. World leaders and politicians have reacted to the attack on Gaharia. Irakli Kobakhidze was not invited to the 2025 World Economic Forum in Davos or the Munich Security Conference. The government administration told BMG that Georgia would not participate in either event as no invitations were received from Davos or Munich. This marks the first time in 20 years that Georgia has not been invited to the Davos Forum, where previous Georgian Dream prime ministers actively participated. The Bank of Georgia Group announced that its Armenian subsidiary Ameria Bank has signed a $200 million loan agreement with the International Finance Corporation. According to the released information, half of this amount will fund climate resilient projects, a quarter will support small and medium-sized businesses, and the remaining quarter will go toward the development of women-led businesses. This is the Checkpoints.
This is the Checkpoints. I'm Elena Dვალიშვილი, author and the host of the show, and the Checkpoints team is ready to sum up business and economics week for you. Irakli Kobakhidze will not participate in the world's most important economic forum in Davos in 2025, which takes place from 20 to 24 January in Switzerland. The government administration told BMG that Georgia will not participate in either the Davos Economic Forum or the Munich Security Conference in February. In response to a clarifying question, the administration wrote to BMG that the invitation did not come from either Davos or Munich. This will be the first time in the last 20 years that Georgia has not been invited to the Davos Economic Forum. Last year, a month before leaving the post of Prime Minister, Irakli Garibashvili was in Davos and participated in a discussion titled Towards a Lead Free Future. More than 350 governmental leaders are expected to participate this year, including 60 heads of state and government. Top political leaders taking part include Donald J. Trump, President-elect of the United States, who will join via live video link for an interactive dialogue with participants, Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Commission, Olaf Scholz, Federal Chancellor of Germany, Roberta Metsola, President of the European Parliament, and so forth. German ambassador to Georgia, Peter Fischer, wrote on social platform X that it was an honor for him to receive President Salome Zurabishvili and the chairman of the Bundestag's Foreign Affairs Committee, Michael Roth. According to him, they discussed ways for Georgia to overcome the crisis. We talked about how Georgia can overcome its current double crisis inside the country as well as in its relationship to Germany, EU and others. I assured President Zurabishvili that Germany will stay a reliable friend to Georgia, Peter Fischer posted. British ambassador to Georgia, Gareth Ward, stated that at the Council of Europe, the UK joined other European partners in strongly condemning the violence against peaceful protesters, media representatives and politicians. Gareth Ward said in recent days, we have seen more extremely worrying developments in the political crisis in Georgia, renewed violence against opposition politicians and arbitrary detention of journalists and protesters is unacceptable. We call on the Georgian Dream authorities to hold those responsible to account. Georgia, as a fellow member of the Council of Europe, must protect its people's right to fundamental freedoms. That is why today at the Council of Europe, the UK joined other European partners in strongly condemning the violence against peaceful protesters, media representatives and politicians. This is what Gareth Ward stated. We continue to have great concerns about actions by the government in Georgia, said Matthew Miller, spokesperson for the United States Department of State at the briefing. According to Miller, these actions include cracking down on its own population to move to retrench from the democratic path that they have been on, as well as the path towards greater Euro-Atlantic integration. That's why you've seen us implement new sanctions targeted members of the Georgian government. It's why you've seen us suspend assistance that we were set to provide to the government of Georgia, and it's why you've seen us suspend our overall strategic relationship with them, Matthew Miller stated. What was new in business this week? Natia Taktakishvili has more.
Real estate development company We Are Holding cannot understand why their company's founder, businessman Noshko Namoradze, should be on the list of individuals to be sanctioned. The list was sent to the future U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. We Are Holding stated that the company has full confidence in Noshko Namoradze and the sanctions is an attempt to punish him for his different political affiliations. Let's start with the fact that we don't understand why the founder of our company, Noshko Namoradze, is on the list of people to be sanctioned. However, it's their handwriting. In the name of democracy, they want to punish a person for different political views, which is unthinkable and unacceptable to us. They continue to work with the same methods as they worked until 2012. The company's press service said in a response to BMW's question. The list of sanctions was published by Radio Liberty late last week, which includes representatives of the private sector having close connections with the ruling party Georgian Dream. Ilya Tsulayev, the founder of Arki, declares that there is no basis for US to sanction him. There is how he answered BMW's question, which was related to the information published by Radio Liberty. There is no basis for my sanctioning since my business is being conducted based on Western values in full compliance with the law. I perceive the dissemination of such information as an attempt to blackmail and pressure independent businesses. In general, I doubt the existence of such a letter where any sane person would mention my name and surname in this context. We are operating in America, as you know. Arki is implementing a development project in Florida, and together with our American partners, we plan to expand our activities and launch new projects. Arki has very ambitious plans in Georgia for 2025, and we are going to launch many new and large-scale projects, Ilya Tsulayev said. Bazari Orbeliani was dedicated to small entrepreneurs to showcase their products from December 27 to January 15. According to company's executive director Rusudan Dvalishvili, such support for small entrepreneurs not only promote sales but also provide business expansion. As of the executive director, the company plans to continue this initiative and expand it on a larger scale. Small businesses are satisfied. The feedback is good. Such support contributes to both sales growth and expansion of connections. Accordingly, we intend to continue this initiative and expand it on a larger scale. In addition, we have many plans in mind that will make Bazari Orbeliani more multifunctional. This will include collaboration with certain representatives of cultural sphere and holding international events, as well as future developing gastro tours, Rusudan Dvalishvili said. Bazari Orbeliani on Orbeliani Square was opened in 2021. Throughout the year, various types of food and non-food products are sold at about 100 points of the market, and the space on the second floor is used by the food outlets. Nino Khajomia, the founder of Cafe Bar Cube in Gudauri, talks to BMWG about the winter season and says that they are operating at about 85% load. According to her, prices are adjusted annually, taking into account the current economic situation in the country and inflation. It's very busy season. We work with 85% load. There are a lot of Polish, Australian and Austrian guests at the resort. You can also see many Kazakhs for the first time after the COVID-19. A decrease in tourists is expected after January 17, but February and March are still remain active because many tourists are coming from Israel. This is typical for Gudauri and all mountain resorts in the world, says Khajomia. According to Nino Khajomia, she is not thinking about expanding her business at these stages of her. This will only be possible when Gudauri turns into a four-season resort. Because Gudauri is seasonal, the expansion and opening of the business depends on what activities the state and mountain resort management will carry out to turn Gudauri into a four-season resort. When it turns into a four-season resort, then we can think about expansion and reinvestment, Khajomia said. Rezo Maghalashvili, director of Sinomi Retail Georgia, declares that 2024 was successful for the retail sector. According to him, a slowdown in sales was observed at the end of the year, which was related to the developments in the country and the change of mood of the customers. The company says that against the backdrop of active trade in pre-New Year period, the company was able to end last December with an 11% increase. Although Maghalashvili finds it's difficult to talk about the forecast because even in normal conditions, January and February is not very active in terms of trade. In 2024, the second quarter was the strongest. We exceeded last year's figure by about 25%. However, a decline in dynamics has been observed since November for obvious reasons. Customers' sentiments have changed, but Finally, it was still a successful year. In the last quarter, there was an increase in sales of about 11% due to the significant discounts, Reza Maghalashvili said. Sinomi Retail Georgia holds the store chains of international brands, Zara, Stradivarius, Pull&Bear, Bershka, and etc. Bakuriani subsidiary of In-Hospitality offers its customers a travel tour to Tabatsquri Lake in Samtskhe-Javakheti from January 20. Hotel's commercial director Nina Gachechiladze told BMG TV. In the near future, we plan to add tours to Tabatsquri. The tours are available from January 20 and customers can contact Bakuriani in, so we'll definitely organize the tour, said Nina Gachechiladze. Commercial director of In-Hospitality also spoke with BMG about other plans for current year and noted that soon the hotel will offer its customers improved services. The hotel is currently in the process of reinvestment. In fact, all inventory have been replaced in all rooms, including bathrobes, towels, and even curtains, Nina Gachechiladze said. In-Group was founded with the vision and aim of offering its guests a 4-star hotel experience for an affordable price. It all started in 2015, and today the group holds Ivaria Inn and Royal Inn in Tbilisi and another 2 hotels in Gudauri and Bakuriani. The winter season is in full swing at Georgia's mountain resorts. Representatives of hotel business at various resorts note that most active period, the New Year holidays, are over, and therefore it's already possible to talk about the first results. The owner of the Lahil Hotel in Mestia assesses the current season with BMG. As Levan Dadwani notes, they had bookings until January 10, and from the second half of January, the hotel is almost empty. We worked with over 80% load during the New Year, but we don't have bookings in the second half of January and February, explains the owner of Lahili Levan Dadwani. Also talked to BMG about the change in the tourist segment, noting that the segment has changed radically. According to him, the resort does not have European visitors anymore. At the moment, Mestia is mostly visited by Russian tourists. European vacationers have changed their mind about visiting the resort because of the current situation in Georgia, as they want to spend their vacation in quiet environment, Levan Dadwani noted. Gulnara Romanadze, the founder of Pongino Wine, declares that 2024 was a successful year. However, the events in the country which were related to the statement made by Irakli Kobakhidze on November 28 had a direct impact on their winemaking. According to Romanadze, reservations were reduced by 70%. In December, 60% of advance bookings were cancelled. The year was really successful. However, the current events had a direct impact on my business. Over 70% of reservations were cancelled. The main part of my guests that remained are from Israel, Gulnara Romanadze says. As for exports, according to the founder of the winery, export markets have completely stopped, which is also related to the events in Georgia. However, there are no plans to explore new markets until the situation improves. There is no demand on exports. We know that my wine was mainly sold in Europe. Accordingly, there is no demand from European countries. I cannot say that we are not interesting to Europeans, although this situation probably affects them. Therefore, I have stopped exporting for some time, she said. According to her, they have no plans for 2025 as they are completely switched to a waiting mode. Irakli Goguadze, founder of Onyx Hotels Georgia in Bakuriani, deeply hopes that the hotel will be at least able to pay off the debt this season. According to him, due to the increased demand, some hotels adjusted the prices and became equal to Gudauri in terms of service costs. Some hotels adjusted their prices while others did not. For example, I did not increase the cost of accommodation price. I don't think that when demand increases, you should also increase the price. In general, prices have increased and have become equal to Gudauri. We hope that the hotel will be at least able to pay off debt this season. Otherwise, we don't expect to go home with a profit, says Goguadze. The founder of Onyx Hotel Georgia talks about the season when there was no snow in Bakuriani and accordingly the season failed. As of him, for the last 2 years they have been trying to compensate the loss. I'm trying to develop, but during the last 2 years the season failed due to the lack of snow. Most likely the season will also use to pay the debt, said Irakli Goguadze.
In 2024, USD 3.4 billion was transferred to Georgia, which was $785 million or 19% less than in 2023. The ranking of the systems through which the most money was transferred last year has changed. In 2024, the first place by remittances was taken by the European system RIA, which overtook the Russian Zolotaya Korona. Money transfers from Russia to Georgia decreased in 2024, falling by 65% to $541 million, according to statistics released by the National Bank of Georgia, NBG. That's all for today. I will be leaving you off with the interview with ICC Georgia's President Fadi Asli, and see you on Sunday. What did this Free Business G platform change in businesses becoming more active actors in the process?
Look, I think that business people are fed up. You know, we have been living in a state of instability, political instability for a very long time. And this affects definitely most of businesses, because you don't have serious investments in the country since years. No one is looking at Georgia. Businesses are having a hard time making money, paying their taxes and all this. But in addition, you know, the Georgians are very patriotic. And when they see that their country is being offered on a silver platter to Russia, you know, they don't think anymore about their business interests. They don't think about what can happen to them. It was a very spontaneous feeling within the business community, like within the population as well, that there are red lines that we don't accept overstepping. And changing the course of the country from going to Europe to going to Russia was a red line that most of the Georgians have refused, no matter where they stand in the society, whether they're business people, students, or anything else.
So you think this decision to sign the petition on Free Business G platform was more an emotional decision rather than rational and pragmatic?
Yes, I think it was a pretty emotional. It was a sign of revolt. You know, like businesses revolted against the authorities, that enough is enough. So it was a pretty emotional decision, and that's why, which takes me to the second part of it, what's the future of this movement?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's very interesting. How do you see the future of this movement?
Look, in my opinion, we shouldn't ask those companies, 2,500, who signed this petition, we shouldn't expect too much from them. Already signing the petition, they have done more than their duty, in my opinion. And trying to turn them into a business organization or trying to rally them under the umbrella of somebody would be losing them. I think that those 2,500 businesses did their patriotic job. Many of them will go on strike on the 15th, if not all of them, but many of them will definitely go on strike. And we should keep it as such. Trying to use them for anything will just dismantle the movement, in my opinion. It would be a big mistake to try to capitalize on them politically or to use them for other business issues would be a mistake.
What they said and what Gyiorgi Chugashvili also said, that there might be some kinds of like discussions, debates, conferences organized by these people about how the economy should go further. Do you think that would be an enough step to keep this platform alive and to keep the awareness that there are at least 2,500 businesses that want new elections in Georgia, and that say openly without fear that these people should be freed from jails?
Yes, I think that organizing conferences, trainings even for them, taking their opinions, having them involved in brainstorming, because you know you have very very good people within those 2,500 companies. You have very competent people, very educated people, people who really care for the future of the economy and of the country and of businesses. And hence, having them involved in the process without using them for any particular goal would be very useful for the country, in my opinion. But they shouldn't feel exploited or used or capitalized on or turn into a business organization or something like this, because this will weaken the whole initiative very much. And I think that Gheorghe Shugojvili have a fantastic idea. I mean, this idea of organizing those seminars, those brainstorming sessions, those discussions are very important. People want to be heard. And many people are very knowledgeable and educated and experienced and can bring a lot to the table. So this is very good.
Without them speaking up further, do you think the pressure on them from the state, from the Georgian Dream, whatever, will be harsh because they had this courage to speak up? Do you think?
It's very difficult to pressure 2,500 companies. I mean, you can pressure Sosopakadze, but you cannot pressure 2,500 companies. They might single out 4 or 5 companies that are big among those companies and try to pressure them. But by the same token, I think that the government has other priorities now than retaliating against few businesses who have expressed their opinion. And don't forget that if this happens, then this is when those 2,500 businesses will come back together again and to stand for the businesses that are being, they're being punished or penalized by the authorities.
Mm-hmm. If I remember correctly, ICC was one of the signatories, of course, and also you also went on a symbolic strike, yes, right? And you also issued a statement. What was the motivation then?
Listen, it was mainly regarding this change of course, of European course, and we went on strike for 3 days. And we totally closed the offices for 3 days. It was a symbolic strike to express our disapproval of government policy to postpone between brackets, but we know it's cancellation, but till 2028. You know, the ICC always takes the lead when it comes to any national issues, business issue. We don't wait for others. We usually open the road and we don't care if the government is happy, not happy, they're angry, not angry. We don't exist to make anybody happy. We exist just to move the country forward and to fix the business climate, the investment climate, to get rid of corruption, to work on having a proper judiciary, rule of law. This is our agenda. So no matter the government, whether it was Shevardnadze or Saakashvili or Ivanishvili, we always had the same line and we always had tough times with governments. Yeah.
First 2 weeks of 2025, it was like overwhelming information about, especially coming from the US, about different sanctions, different acts. And just a few days ago, we heard about the list that Radio Liberty has provided for its readers and listeners and followers, where we see where we have this new phrase, Ivanishvili enablers, and among them are some large representatives of some large businesses. What type of signals, what type of movements are these?
Look, this is not conducive to a good business environment. Let's agree. I mean, any kind of sanctions or threat of sanctions decreases the appetite of international investors regarding Georgia. You know, investors look for stable business environment, for visibility. They don't like to throw themselves in chaos and then try to sort it out, unless they are from the neighborhood, okay, then they have like privileged relationship with the government and they do whatever they want. So I will not, I mean, I cannot tell you if it is good or not. I mean, it's good that those guys are sanctioned or not sanctioned. This, I will not give an opinion about it, but I will tell you that, of course, it will put a lot of pressure on the Georgian dream. If they are sanctioned, whether for the good reason or the bad reason, because I don't think that all the people who are listed deserve to be sanctioned, in my personal opinion. Some of them do, but not all of them deserve to be sanctioned. Maybe from the emotional point of view, we feel that they deserve to be sanctioned. But from the legal point of view, I personally, in a couple of cases, I don't see why those people are requested to be sanctioned.
Who was the biggest surprise?
Like Irakli Gilauri, for example. It's not that I personally like him very much, but I mean, every big business works with the government. It was like this during the Saakashvili's time. It was like this during the Shevardnadze's time. I don't think that the company that Irakli Gilauri manages did things that like supported the repressions of the Georgian dream, you see. In my opinion, I might be mistaken, but this is how I see it from the outside, okay?
And do you see this list more as an emotional list rather than like thought through list?
Look, let me tell you. If the list is based on who donated money to the Georgian dream, you know better than anyone else that if the Georgian dream calls any company and tell them we want 200,000 laris, no one dares to tell them no. It will be transferred. So there is a difference between businesses. There are businesses that are associated with the Georgian dream, that do business with the Georgian dream, that shares profit with the Georgian dream. Those are the enablers of the Georgian dream. But businesses that donated to the Georgian dream because they received a phone call from the party saying, send us money, 500,000 laris, for example, they cannot say no, because if they say no, their business will stop. So this is a factor that needs to be taken into consideration, in my opinion. You see, you cannot put everyone on the same list and say, oh, he donated money. Everyone donated money to Saakashvili. Everyone donated money to Shevardnadze. It was the same.
Most of the large businesses at this point have responded to the BMG's questions with their statements, and most of them say that they have no idea how they ended up on this new list of the Radio Liberty's sources have provided, and they call on Radio Liberty to provide some evidence that such letter really exists and that it was sent to Marco Rubio. Do you think this could be a reputational case for Radio Liberty as well? Personally, you as a businessman, as a head of the largest international business association, would like to see the letter itself?
Yeah, I mean, it is important to present the letter because there is a reputational damage for those business people, that's for sure. Like, for example, if you take any of those business people who are on the list, no other businessman with a minimum of common sense would want to do business with them in this situation. Now, I'm sure that Radio Liberty, you know, it's a serious media platform.
Exactly.
They're not like, you know, the Georgian Times or I don't know, Alia or something. They are pretty serious. And if they said it, it means that if the letter didn't go out, it will go out. And if it went out, it went out. But also bear in mind that the Secretary of State can only prohibit travel. This means that the sanctions that the Secretary of State can impose relate to travel.
Are not financial sanctions.
Yes,
That's
it is
what
not.
I mean.
Yeah, it's not the Treasury Department. You see, this would have been much more serious. But sending a letter also is not something that means that those sanctions are going to be implemented. But it is definitely a reputational damage.
So what does this list mean at this point for these businesses? I mean, what should they be carrying in their minds?
They should worry. They should worry. They should really worry. If they can defend their case by proving that they are not enablers of the Georgian dream, if the law allows them in the United States, then they need to do it. If they cannot prove their case, they cannot prove their case. So this is a serious thing. You know, when you look at the politicians from the Georgian dream, they tell you, we will not travel to the United States. It's not, you know, when you are on a sanction list, even if you are sanctioned by Zimbabwe, I'm not telling you sanctioned by the United States, even if you are sanctioned by Zimbabwe, then it shows. Then you have difficulties opening a bank account, even if it's travel ban, okay? Because the names of the sanctioned people are all over, okay? It is a very serious thing to be on a sanction list, no matter which country and which list it is. And when it becomes the United States and the European Union, then it's much more serious.
Fitch Ratings said in a recent interview that at this stage they do not see any significant damage to the investment environment, that they do not see any major investors like leaving Georgia or some projects that are being halted because of the political crisis in the country. How clear is the picture to Fitch Ratings? And
I will tell you. First of all, who are the investors? Let's agree. Investors are not leaving Georgia. If you look at the list of foreign investors, most of the foreign investors are Georgian companies that are domiciliated abroad. Take, for example, Borjomi, okay? They are domiciliated in the Netherlands. Or, for example, some other companies are domiciliated in Malta, okay? Or in London. They're Georgian companies. So this is one. Two, when you look at the profile of the FDI, the foreign direct investment, you see that about 65% of it is reinvestment. What's reinvestment? You take Toyota, for example. They are a Georgian company here. Foreign investors in Georgia.
Yes,
if they don't send their profits out to Japan, they keep it in their bank account, it's considered to be reinvestment. This is not FDI, okay? Let's agree on it. The real FDI is the equity FDI, which is about 10 to 12 to 13% of the total FDI. And most of it comes from, you know, this Emirati or Saudi or Jordanian or Russian or Azeri who bought an apartment in Batumi for $50,000. And you see, this is the kind of investment that you look at, equity investment. So to answer Fitch, I tell you there is no investment. They will never see an investor leaving because most of those investors are Georgian, okay? I mean, foreign investors.
But what about new investors entering the country?
There are
what about the new projects starting in this situation?
Which project? The projects are not stopping because those are Georgian companies labeled as foreign direct investment. If Mr. Ivanishvili has 3-4 projects going on, he will not stop them. He will continue. They are registered in the British Virgin Islands, his company. Does it mean that he is a foreign investor? You see? He will not. So whoever is investing here, they're all Georgians close to the Georgian dream. They are continuing there, like the Archi group, for example. Okay, they will not stop building because, you know, they are closely associated with the authorities and they're continuing. But yes, they have foreign investors in, and it's considered to be a foreign company. But are they going to stop? No. Why? Because they are the Georgian dream, you see? So this is a very bureaucratic way of looking at the situation on the ground. I mean, when Fitch, the way they look at it, you know, they're looking from their nice offices overseeing a very nice park outside, okay? They look at the figures from the National Bank and the government, the Ministry of Finance, and they say we don't see a crisis, okay? But does it mean that the crisis does not exist? I mean, we are all businessmen. We know who. You tell me today, invest $100. I tell you I don't want, okay? Because I don't know what's going to go. I don't even know if I will be in Georgia in 1 week, okay? And it's the same with anyone who wants to invest here. Look, corruption
is
not a problem for investors. You know, you have investors who go to Azerbaijan, to Kazakhstan, to Uzbekistan, to Ghana, yeah, there is a lot of corruption, but this is the rule of the game, okay? They play by the rule of the game. They don't care. Why? Because there is visibility. They say, okay, this government is in power for 4 years. We're going to invest in 4 years. Our money is back. And we know that we're going to make money. There is visibility for the kind of investment that they are doing. But political instability, where you are changing the course of the country from going to the west to going to the north, this is something that changes the picture totally. Because if you're going to the west, you know very well that in 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, the GDP of Georgia will be multiplied by 2 in 1 year, okay? The year Georgia is accepted, and we know it from all the Eastern European countries, that the first year that they entered in the EU, their GDP increased by 50%, just in 2 years. So this is an incentive for investors.
So you think that the bet on China, for example, for the investments is not a right bet?
Look, you have to look at the history of China to understand if the bet is good or no. Look, for example, in Sri Lanka, they built a port, and then the Sri Lankan authorities didn't have money to reimburse. The Chinese took the port. In Africa, they financed many infrastructure projects that the governments of those countries in Africa could not pay. The Chinese took it. This is the way the Chinese colonize nations. You know, you have countries that colonize by sending their armies. You have countries that colonize by creating monopolies for their business people. And you have countries that monopolize by taking over the infrastructure project of countries, because when you take control of the infrastructure project, you control the country. When you control the airport and the ports and the roads, what is left of the sovereignty of the country? You can close the port any day you want. You stop the flow of goods. So this is the dangerous part of having a Chinese investment, is what will happen to Georgia in 5 years. Let's say Anaklia, okay? Let's assume that the Chinese are going to build it. And what if the situation goes worse and worse in Georgia here, and in 4 or 5 years the government will be unable to finance their share or whatever, okay? They will have to give up their shares to the Chinese. And then you end up with the Chinese controlling a major infrastructure port in Georgia. And then they will do other things like this. Look, it is extremely important to diversify your portfolio of investments, so you are not hostage of a country or another, whether it's Russia or even the EU or the United States or China, okay? Then, in my opinion, infrastructure projects should be owned by the state. This is my opinion. It is a tragic mistake to privatize infrastructure projects because you are losing your sovereignty on those infrastructure projects that are strategically very important for the country. You see, unless you retain control.
What type of manager are you?
Pardon?
What type of manager are you when you are not a
No, I will tell you.
business?
You can give
And you
it.
do not have business incentive.
Yeah, but you give it in management to a
Outsource it.
yeah, you outsource the management, but the port belongs to you. This means I build the port as the Georgian government myself, and then I call Dubai ports. They manage many ports over the world, and tell them, listen, how much do you want to manage this port? Okay, and then Dubai port will say we want that much. Then they manage. They know how to do it, but the asset belongs to the government. You see. And the airport is the same. Look with TAV, for example, okay? The airplanes tickets are very high because the tax that TAV puts on the ticket is very high compared to Kutaisi, for example, where it's very low, okay? So if the airport belonged to the government and was only managed by TAV, the airplane tickets will not be that high, you see? Because if you look at the structure of the pricing on the ticket, sometimes the tax is maybe 50% of the price of the ticket, you see? So, this is my opinion. I might be mistaken, but I mean, if I were to be the Prime Minister of Georgia, I would make sure that all the infrastructure assets of the country are owned by the government and they are managed by very reputable international companies that are specialized in the management of those assets.
What are the immediate challenges in the economy due to this political instability in Georgia? I mean, what should we be watching closely during 2025?
I think that the number one challenge is the stability of the Georgian lari. In my opinion, this is the number one challenge because, you know, we have like $4 billion in reserve, which is barely enough for 2.5 months of imports. So we are like in a very dangerous situation. There is no confidence in the country. There is less money coming from remittances, less money coming from tourism, and this affects, of course, the influx of foreign currency in the country. And FDI, forget about it. There is no FDI coming. Very little, I mean, very negligible. So this is the number one challenge, because if the lari devalues and you cannot stop it, then, you know, you get into this inflation again, the cycle of inflation, impoverishment of the population, more brain drain, more people leaving, and it will be very bad for the economy. The second challenge is the economic growth. You know, I mean, if you look at the IMF assessment for 2024, they tell you that the economic growth since 2022 has been driven by Russian money, mainly from the tech area. You know, those tech companies that move from Russia here, employed people. Okay, so if there is peace signed or ceasefire and things calm down between Ukraine and Russia in the coming 6 months, because this is what President-elect Trump promised, then what will happen is that many of those companies will go back to Russia. And this will affect the economic growth of Georgia very seriously, because beside this, we don't have much, okay? I mean, the economic growth is built on mainly the Russian money that has been entering Georgia since 2022. So this is another risk. A third risk is no investors, but it's not something new because we never had like serious foreign direct investment. You know, in the best years we had like 2 billion, which is absolutely nothing. I mean, to put things into perspective, Elene, during the war in Gaza, Israel-Gaza, like 8-9 months ago, Intel, you know, the chip company, negotiated with the Israeli government to build a chip factory in Israel with an investment of $15 billion. Okay? So speaking, okay. During a state of war, okay? Why? Because there is trust in the democracy in Israel. There is trust in the judiciary, in the rule of law. Here, you come here, investors don't trust the government. Even if they trust them on the personal level, because there is a personal relationship, today they will be very wary. I mean, even the people who are friends with Mr. Ivanishvili, today that is sanctioned, you know, they claim that they don't know him. Okay? And based on that, no one is going to invest here, especially when there is no rule of law. Because if you have a problem, the courts will not come with a fair decision. They will come with a decision that will favor people who are close to the government. Okay? So, without rule of law, without democracy, there can be no investment. It's a waste of time, speaking of foreign direct investment. Okay, you will have like petty investment. You know, this Turkish guy who came to Batumi and he met this Russian girl and she told him, listen, I like this apartment. He bought her the apartment. Yeah, but this is not FDI that builds a country. Okay.
Do you see any real solution to the situation? I mean, what could resolve this whole situation?
Look, unless there are new elections, fair, where people express their opinion and it is reflected in the results, I don't see any other alternative. Unless the Georgian Dream government is out of power and there is another government that comes and brings hope to the Georgian businesses and to the international businesses, we're going to remain like this. It's a fact. I mean, we're going to go worse and worse and worse. I mean, look today. Today, Georgia is at par with Venezuela and Iran and North Korea. I mean, those are our peers today. Those are the people who meet with the Georgian government. And this is where we are heading, in this direction. And Russia, okay? This is where we are heading. So, unless this government is out and there is a brand new government that brings hope, where people say, yes, now there will be a rule of law, and now democracy will play. Unless this happens, we will go from bad to worse, in my opinion.
What is your take on January the 20th? The Georgian government is waiting for Trump to be inaugurated as the president, and they believe that everything will change, the sanction policy will change, and they will be legitimized by the United States.
I think they need to wait for Easter, because this is when Jesus arises from the dead. Because on the 20th of January, nothing will happen. You know, if you think that, first of all, before March, Trump will not have time even to look at the Georgian file before March. He has many other priorities to handle. I mean, Georgia is like a microscopic country, okay, with microscopic interest for the United States. I mean, it's more of a symbolic interest than a real interest. But I don't think that they even are hoping for the 20th of January. They were hoping like a month and a half ago. But then when Mr. Kobakhidze had the very good inspiration to accuse Joe Wilson, the congressman, of being on the payroll of Kezerashvili, and the same day Russia declared the Helsinki Commission as an undesirable organization in Russia, this was like the total shift of the Republican Party from maybe there is hope for the Georgian dream to now we have become your worst enemies. So I think that with Trump it's going to be even more difficult. And I'm sure that Mr. Ivanishvili did finance Trump campaign. And hoping that because he financed Trump campaign, then he will collect dividends of it. But But I'm sure that the term of Trump is going to be much more difficult for the Georgian dream than the Biden term, in my opinion. You know, I mean, Trump will never support any government that walks hand in hand with Iran and China. I mean, those are like the two devils for the United States. I mean, what is he like? He has Alzheimer, or I mean, he's like a very pragmatic politician, and he will never support the Georgian dream. Impossible.
Let us finish with that note. Thank you so much.
On this happy note.
The Checkpoints is presented by pharmaceutical company GM Pharma.